Ever since the trade the Miami Heat made for Norman Powell from the Los Angeles Clippers, there was no doubt excitement from the fan base in getting another scoring threat to a team that needed a jolt on offense. Grading the Heat's trade for Powell would look into the fit with the team's featured duo of Tyler Herro and Bam Adebayo, but Powell eases any concerns as he gave insight into how well they can play together. Powell spoke for the first time since the trade on Wednesday via a press conference on Zoom about the whirlwind of the deal and the makings of the next chapter of his NBA journey. The 31-year-old would express how excited he is to clutch points about being able to play with the versatile duo of Herro and Adebayo. "I'm really excited," Powell said. "I was competing against them throughout the years, having the conversations on and off the court with Bam and passing and things like that. I like what they're building. I like the culture. They compete every single night. No matter who's healthy, who's in, out the lineup, they're putting a full team out there that's going to compete and fight for wins. They're scrappy, they're gritty, they're competitive, they're very confident, and that's what I like. They're very versatile too," Powell continued. "Bam can play multiple positions, can attack multitude of ways, defensively, can switch, can defend different positions, protect the rim, really athletic. Tyler Herro, he's great off the ball, on the ball, scoring, facilitating. I think he did a great job this year getting assists, getting his teammates involved, and figuring out when to score, when to be aggressive." While Powell has already received praise from his new Heat teammates like Davion Mitchell on Tuesday, the fit, when described by the guard, does seem to be a seamless one. The former Clipper would speak on how effective he is in getting out in transition and especially working in pick-and-roll situations that can help Adebayo and even Kel'el Ware. Powell's addition could help Miami be a faster-paced team, which has been an issue in the past few years, with the group being slower compared to the rest of the league, as they were bottom 5 last season. Other than that though, Powell would say how he fits the famed culture of the Heat and is eager for the extended opportunity. "Yeah, I think honestly it's just the opportunity. I'm extremely hardworking," Powell said. "I think going into Miami, I fit the culture perfectly. Just that grit, that competitiveness, and putting in the work, the extra work, the late nights, early mornings, that's who I am to a T. So I think for me it was all about the opportunity. And this year, having the full opportunity and chance to really showcase my game and what I can fully do when given the opportunity, and having a bigger leash to go out there and make mistakes and learn and go out there and be a focal point for a team." Miami hopes Powell can help improve the team after a 10th place finish in the East and a frustrating sweep in the playoffs by the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Miami Heat already knew they had a huge franchise-changing decision in front of them later this summer. However, the Chet Holmgren extension is only going to make Tyler Herro more likely that he's going to get his. The only question is, will that be from the Heat or another team? That's the dilemma Miami now has on its plate. Earlier this week, Holmgren signed a 5-year, $250 million max rookie extension with the Oklahoma City Thunder. If Holmgren hits every incentive in that contract, he could be making close to $50 million per season. That's a very similar contract extension that Herro is eligible to sign with the Heat later this summer. But Herro has to be thinking, well, if Holmgren got it, I certainly deserve it. And honestly, he's probably not wrong. Admittedly, it's difficult to compare two players like Holmgren and Herro. They have two very different styles of basketball and play two different positions. It's not fair to either player to compare them straight up. But one thing you can compare is their respective impacts on their teams. When it comes to the counting stats, there's no question Herro laps Holmgren, especially considering one was an all-star this past season and the other wasn't. However, as far as overall impact, the argument could be made that it's Holmgren who makes the much bigger difference for the Thunder than Herro makes for the Heat. Holmgren brings a level of versatility to Oklahoma City's front court that few other players in the NBA can offer. He's a merchant on the defensive end and has a unique ability to cover large areas of space from the perimeter to the paint. Even offensively, Holmgren is one of the more adaptable bigs in the NBA as a 3-level threat on that end of the floor too. I wouldn't go all the way to say that the Thunder don't win the 2025 NBA championship without Holmgren, but he certainly alters the dynamic of the team tremendously when he's on the floor. Where it's simple to see Holmgren's impact on a team like the Thunder, it's much different to do so for Herro on the Heat. Part of that could be attributed to Miami's struggles and lack of overall talent compared to Oklahoma City, but that could also help build the argument against the Heat paying Herro that much money. The bottom line is, that Herro probably isn't a first or second option on a championship team in the NBA, and that's the biggest problem for the Heat, because if Herro isn't a first or second option, then how could they responsibly pay him $50 million per season, a contract that's going to handcuff this team from making bigger moves? That's all completely understandable, but that's also why the extension for Holmgren is going to complicate things for Miami. In a vacuum, if Holmgren is getting a similar contract number, then Herro probably deserves it too. But that doesn't mean it has to come from the Heat. The biggest issue that presents itself for Miami is not whether or not Herro is worth $50 million. It's the ill effects that paying Herro the contract is going to have in limiting the team to build out a proper championship roster in the way the NBA blueprint is currently changing. Miami already had a big decision on its hands on the horizon. Holmgren's contract extension is only going to make their lives that much more difficult in navigating the next few months with Herro. The Miami Heat clearly don't believe Bam Adebayo and Tyler Herro had a fair shot at leading the team in 2025, which led to the major trade for guard Norman Powell. Miami's front office is signaling its desire to give the Herro-Adebayo duo a drama-free opportunity to succeed. While Powell is quite an impressive scorer and nearly made the All-Star game last season, adding more established talent could be on team president Pat Riley's mind. One Heat social media account predicts the Heat could land regressing forward DEMAR DEROZAN in a 3-team trade with the Los Angeles Lakers and Sacramento Kings. The full proposed details are as follows. The Lakers and Kings' motivation for making this move is rather simple. LA needs a two-way forward to play alongside LeBron James, while Sacramento can continue adding to their youthful core with Jaquez Jr. and Connect. However, it's much tougher to explain why the Heat would have interest in acquiring DeRozan. The obvious thought is he is a 6-time All-Star who averaged 22.2 points in 2025, but he likely won't push Miami over the hump and has 2 guaranteed seasons remaining on his 3-year, $73 million contract. It's hard to imagine DeRozan being worthy of that contract by 2027, with some already believing it's an overpay. It's also worth noting many rumors are swirling about Wiggins heading back to the Golden State Warriors in exchange for star forward Jonathan Kuminga. If that's a possible route, the Heat should not entertain dealing the former number 1 pick in a deal for DeRozan. Unless the asking price for the 35-year-old Kings forward is unbelievably low, Miami should look elsewhere for win-now pieces.